Hello and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview, where we take a look at the stories being followed in the upcoming edition of the North Coast Journal. My name is Dave Frank, and I'm joined by Jennifer Formico Cahill, who's the Arts and Features Editor. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hello. I'm sorry we don't have Thad today. He is out ill, and therefore you are stuck with me, and there will be no break from me, David.
That's not a problem. I'm sad that we don't have Thad, but at the same time, we get some QT, so this is great. You shared with me that there's a whole bunch that we can cover today in this week's edition.
It's a big one.
So let's start with the thing that we usually pass off to Thad. What's going on in Humboldt and our area with COVID these days?
Well, sadly, the COVID spike continues. We are still climbing in our numbers. And in fact, I believe Monday we had 3 cases, I want to say 2 or 3. But then yesterday we had 9, which is a pretty big number. And remember that these cases go back weeks in terms of the processing. So they are not necessarily, Wednesday or Tuesday we had 9 people. They're when the cases come back and when they're reported to us by the public health office. That brings us to a whopping 245 total cases in the county of COVID-19. 6 of the active cases are on the Hoopa Reservation, we learned yesterday. Two Rivers Tribune wrote a piece about that, and we have a piece up on our news blog about it. But it's really tough on Native communities. As we've seen, Native communities have been hit really hard by COVID-19. And there are a number of different factors related to that, just as African Americans and Latinos have been hit really hard by COVID-19. A number of things being factors, including poor health care, poverty, et cetera. So it's something that they're taking really seriously, and the tribe has shut down all non-emergency services for the next 2 weeks. It looks like they are, locking down and handling it, which is good. I don't know if we can be optimistic about how this spike is going. People are always, friends, people I barely know, message me and say, so what are the numbers today? How are we doing? But what we need to look at is the overall trend, and the overall trend has been distressing and has been climbing. We've had a total of 17 people hospitalized, 4 fatalities all through Alder Bay. And so the number breakdown on the cases, 126 of our total 245 cases have been through contact with, they've been able to trace, okay, this was related to a known case. So this person had it and now, their nephew has it or whatever. 67 of them have been from travel out of the area or connected to travel out of the area. Stop traveling out of the area, everyone. Stay home. It's shelter in place. 40 years from now, when you're telling your grandkids about this and they're like, what was shelter in place like during COVID? Don't be telling them how you went traveling. Let them respect you. Tell them we locked it down and there were hardships and we had to walk uphill in the snow both ways. 34 have been through community spread. And community spread sounds like, I know we've talked about this a million times, but it sounds like, that sounds like the same thing as contact. It is not. It means that it's out there in the community and we don't know exactly how it happened. We can't trace person to person and connect the dots. And the last is that 18 of them are still under investigation. We frequently have on our Facebook posts, when we post numbers, people asking, how come they're not finding out? Why don't they figure out where it's coming from? Some of that has to do with the difficulty of contact tracing. When you try and retrace your steps to find your keys, much less what you've done for the last 14 days, it's not easy. And, there are people who won't cooperate. There are a lot of obstacles to that. But, Humboldt County has more contact tracers than a lot of different counties do. So we're fortunate in that way. But small as we are, surges that are in single digits, barely in double digits, are still really scary for us in terms of our hospital capacity. So everybody wear a mask and observe social distancing and stay home if you don't need to be out.
Yeah, I think we still are at that level 3 I saw, and that means we still have to be diligent. We could slip into one of those higher risk categories, like much of the state, if we're not diligent. So thank you for getting us up to speed and up
It's
to
3
date.
of 4, by the way. It's not
Right,
like a scale of 1 to 10.
right. Yeah, there's not a lot of room to get worse. This is as bad as we want to be. So what else are you guys covering? Let's shift to something more positive and upbeat if we can help it.
Yes, well, on the somewhat, is it light? I don't know if it's light. Has anybody gotten the mystery seeds? Did you get any mystery seeds?
No, the only seeds I get are from organizations that want me to like encourage bees. So no,
Oh, okay.
nothing
All
from
right.
overseas.
Mystery seeds sounds like it's going to be fun, but it's not. So what it probably is, what the authorities seem to think it is probably overseas companies trying to make, fake positive reviews for their products in order to sell them online. And so what they do is ship out their products, seeds, etc. I did see one woman posted that she received masks.
Oh.
They ship them out to people who haven't asked for them and then use that to make fraudulent reviews. But getting random seeds from China in the mail is, worrisome to people. But one thing you definitely should not do is go, yes, free seeds, and plant them. Did you learn nothing from Little Shop of Horrors? Nothing. If you want to grow pod people in your backyard, I guess do that. But no, you can't plant the seeds because there are real dangers that come with them. Not the kind of nefarious dangers of, like, say, if you received white powder in the mail, but nefarious dangers in terms of invasive species, which we have enough invasive species in Humboldt County. People are ruining their weekends pulling grasses. Enough. We don't need more ivy. Most of these seeds turn out to be things like mustard, cabbage, whatever, but they could also be invasive species that are going to hurt our local ecosystem. They could also be carrying plant diseases.
Yeah.
We have one pandemic. We don't need more disease. So plant diseases that could, destroy crops, let's just don't plant the seeds. Instead, there are instructions in the article that we posted this week, both online and in the paper, about how to dispose of the seeds, and that involves bringing them to the ag office. They want to look at them, check them out, etc. And you can double bag them, lock them up, and either bring them in, mail them, dispose of them. But there are really solid instructions that you can use, even if you have already been naughty and planted the seeds.
I thought that was really interesting. Dig them up, double them up, and let the agricultural commissioner know. So yeah, what about you also have a story in there about Shiso. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I I just found out that Shiso is also an invasive. It's an invasive species according to this park ranger site that I saw. But it is an ornamental. It's also an herb, and in Japanese cooking, it's widely used. It's also widely used in Southeast Asian cooking. Korean cooking, and there's a lot you can do with it. And I have kind of like a zillion things you can do with it with no recipes. So for people who hate to measure and time things, there's one recipe included, but there's like 80 different things you can do with Shiso, which you might see at the market. You might even have growing in your backyard as an ornamental, who knows? Go around, sniff your plants, see if you can find some Shiso. But there's a lot of things you can do, and it's a really great summer herb in particular. So you should check that out. But
how will we know
don't
if we have
plant the seeds in case they're Shiso. Yeah.
Okay. Well, definitely.
I'm sorry, you cut out on me for a second.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, how about you said smell around for it? How will we know if we have it? What will it smell like?
Well, you'll be able to see it. It smells kind of minty. It smells minty and grassy to me. People describe it in different ways, but I think it smells minty and grassy, and the leaf is very distinctive. It's sort of heart-shaped, frilly on the edges, and smaller than your palm usually.
So I think we saved the best for last. No pun intended.
Yeah, the best of.
Your cover story this week, best of. So I noticed that I remember seeing it in the past, but there's food, drink, arts, entertainment, recreation, retail, services, cannabis, and bonus. What is this about, and how did this selection happen?
So every year, people nominate and then vote for their favorite things in Humboldt County. And that can be anything from a favorite cafe to a favorite drag performer to the favorite bathroom in the county. Public bathroom is always, or business bathroom is always hotly contested. Congratulations, Fatsy Klein's Parlor Lounge.
Okay.
But we have people who go hard for their favorites. There are some categories where, you see maybe like there were 100, 200 votes cast, but some categories people are extremely intense about, like French fries might get 900 votes or something like that. And the battle is intense. And my favorite part of Best of every year is everybody fighting about the results afterward.
Yeah. So this, to me, this was a reminder of how many amazing small businesses make up the fabric of our community. Also, now that we are in shelter in place in COVID situation, it's a wish list for places to go and things to do once we return to going out in public again.
Yeah, I mean, some of those things we just can't enjoy right now. So you'll just have to dream about them until the time comes.
So I know everybody has their favorites, and there's like this affirmation feedback, like, you look and you say, oh, great, my favorite's on there, or, I wonder why mine didn't get on there. It's hard not to be biased about go-to recommendations. Is there anything that stood out for you? I know it's hard because you can't, you just have to present who won and how. But like, from this list, you hear about great things that people say, but you've unfamiliar to you personally. Was there anything that kind of fit that category that it was like, wow, this made the list, I got to check it out?
Yeah, and we have, like I said, there are those hotly contested things, but there's also some new categories that we have, which are related to shelter in place, and those are things that we don't have to dream about. We can be appreciative of them now. For example, Cloney's won for best pharmacy and best delivery during shelter in place. And honestly, what could be more important for somebody who has underlying medical issues than being able to get their medications without putting themselves in danger? So congratulations, Cloney's. There were also categories like best pivot to COVID aid. For example, Still won for it, but wanted to share with the other first and second place. Humboldt Distillery and Alchemy Distillery, along with Still, also moved to make sanitizer, just as some other places. Jewel Distillery did it too. But Still was out there handing out free sanitizer to people in the early days of the shelter in place in California. And people really appreciated that. And I think there are other categories too, where sometimes we are voting for our favorite because it is the thing that we have always enjoyed. It is, our staple, our go-to. And sometimes I think it is public goodwill. For example, Food for People got a lot of love in a lot of categories, largely due to all of the tough times that they've encountered and still been out helping people. Miranda's Rescue. Congratulations to Shannon Miranda for both his win for Best Volunteer Organization and for his abs of steel, because he posed for his picture shirtless, as he is wont to do.
Yeah. It's great that you mentioned Ann Holcomb and Food for People recognition for Best Nonprofit and Best COVID-related community support. That definitely stood out to me in that category. So we are not going to name particular restaurants and foods and things of that nature.
Are you about to talk smack?
No, well, in a way, I was gonna say that I feel obliged to give a shout out to my friend and former colleague, Chef Josh Wiley, and 511 for winning Best Apps, Best Chef, Best Happy Hour. He's the man, and he's a good friend, and lots of friends on there. And I hope to make friends with other people who I've now learned from the Best Of list. So I'm looking forward to the other side. There's
lots to explore, some of which you can explore through for example, takeout and things like that. Like the Best Bloody Mary, you can get it to go in a mason jar right now from Cafe Waterfront. And some things like Moonstone's View, we're just going to have to wait.
Yeah, on that note, we're going to have to wrap it up. Thank you for sharing all this stuff with us. Definitely going to go check out North Coast Journal Best Of. It's on newsstands and it's available online. Pick one up, stay informed, stay entertained, and stay safe. Jennifer, thank you so much. We will see you next week.
See you next week. Wear a mask.